Welcome to this short video on my favourite piece of software out of everything paid and free software, and that's Inkscape. Inkscape's a vector graphics program, which means you can do diagrams and produce files that remain completely sharp under any magnification because they're not defined in terms of pixels, but rather in terms of mathematical operators such as vectors. Now, it can do a lot. I actually use Inkscape for my word processing, diagrams, all sorts of things. Just do it in the one document and then turn it into PDFs if I want to distribute it to people. Now, to zoom around in Inkscape, hold down the control key and mouse wheel up or down. And to move or pan the page, hold the mouse wheel and drag. They're two quite handy operations. Speaking of text, here's the text tool here, or hit T on the keyboard and click where you'd like to type the text. I'll just type the word text a couple of times. Then if you want to do something with that text, the select tool, or S for select, hit that and you can drag a corner and hold down control to maintain the proportion. Side like that and scrunched up in one way. The amazing thing is if we go back to the text tool, hit T or double click, you can then go and edit that text still. It remains editable, which is fantastic. Okay, from a maths teacher's point of view, you often want to do equations and fractions and things. It can be a bit slow, but once you get good at it, it does speed up, and you can do that in Inkscape. If I go back to the text tool, and if I click in three areas, I'll click here and type a 1, here a little dash, I'll use that as a vinculum in a fraction, and I'll click over here and do a 2. Back to the select tool, I'll zoom in, control mouse wheel, I'll drag the 2 underneath the 1 there, and this little mark, I can actually grab an end and extend that. You can drag things around to line them up how you like. There's a special alignment menu, Control-Shift-A for that, but perhaps that's for another time. You can drag a marquee around everything, Control-G to group it, and then you can move your fraction. You can do a similar thing, with limits or square roots and all sorts of things. Get exactly what you want. Another thing you can do text-wise mathematically is Unicode. If I go back to the text tool and click here, if you go Control-U and then you put in a special code, and there's a list of these, I'll leave a link to this in the video description, but you can also Google Unicode characters. But pi is 03C0, so 03C0, and then press enter. I think I've done the wrong one there, backspace. Control-U, I did an O, not a 0. 03C0, and enter. And there's pi, but that's in the Arial font. If I click up here and start typing times, I can select Times New Roman, and there's the more traditional pi symbol. And there are a whole lot of symbols you can get that way, which is handy when you're doing maths typesetting. The Bezier line tool is another tool that's very handy. I could have used that for the vinculum in the fraction, but you click, let go, and then click anywhere else, press enter to finish the line. Control-Shift-F brings up the fill and stroke menu, or this icon up here. Under stroke style, you can select different markers for the ends, and you've got quite a bit of control over the size and so forth there. Back to the select tool. I just want to change the end. I can go to the node tool here, or end for node, and move that node around. So another powerful feature of Inkscape. Notice I kept going back to the select tool. If I go back to the node tool, you actually click a line and a line there, and bend it, and click a node and change the angle or the gradient, do all sorts of things. The pen tool and the node tool, they're worthy subjects for extensive videos of their own. Let's have a look at rectangles. If I click that rectangle, click and drag. If I hold down control as I click and drag at an angle like this, I can get a square. And I can put a certain fill in by clicking a colour. I can change the border around the outside by shift clicking a colour, chosen blue there. Under stroke style, you can see up here, I can change that size. If I don't want a stroke, I can shift click this cross, or Ctrl Z. If I don't want a colour, I can just click that cross there. Again, lots of power in Inkscape. Back to the select tool, if I want to duplicate something, Ctrl D. If I hold down Control and drag, it keeps it in the same vertical or horizontal line. That's very handy for lining things up. I'll click another one, Control D, Control drag, and you can get multiple copies of something when you're doing a particular pattern. Now, let's put a few different fills in here. Let's have a look at some Boolean operations here. If I drag this on top and shift click if I want to select more than one thing, there are a whole lot of things under path here. You can do path union, and it joins them together, or Control Z. Path difference, one punches, oops, I've got to select them both again, shift click them both. Path difference, one punches a hole out of the other, Control Z. Oops. Redo. You can drag a marquee to select things if you don't want to shift click. And path, do exclusions and divisions and all sorts of things there. But they're called Boolean operations, and they can be very handy combining different shapes to get accurate diagrams. I wanted to, let's say I had these all over the place. I wanted to align them all. If I click them, shift click them, select more than one, and under this icon here, or Control Shift A, I often do last selected here, and if I want to line up their centres, I can do that. I want to line them up, or Control Z. I want to line them up on the left of each other, I can do that. I want to distribute them evenly with the horizontal gaps, I can do that. Gaps. So there are lots of alignment options as well. A quick look at graphs. If I start with a rectangle, that's the area my graph's going to take up. Buried under this extension menu, under render and function plotter, this is handy for maths teachers. There are a whole lot of settings there. You can play around with those, but I'll just go straight to applying this. You can do a preview, but I'll just go apply, graph that, and there I have the graph. The select tool, if I didn't click the graph with the rectangle, so I can get rid of the rectangle. But you can put in your own axes, or you can shift click to change the colour of the graph and format that how you like. Stretch it, do what you need to do. Okay, now one new feature of Inkscape is multi-page. Down here there's a page icon. If I click plus, you can create more pages. If I printed from Inkscape, it will just print the first page. But if I go File, Save a Copy and select PDF, I won't do that now, it will print all the pages as a PDF in your whatever PDF program you have. Something like Sumatra can be used if you haven't got one. It's a free program. But if you want to learn more about Inkscape, and there is a heck of a lot to learn, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos out there in YouTube. Get onto YouTube and search for myself, Geoff Phillips, and the topic of interest to you, or Logos by Nick, or Photo Advanced 2 is another excellent tutor on YouTube. Anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time, bye for now.